Uh, it is great. It is great to be back after being off for 4 days. I didn't post any videos the last 4 days for a reason. But now we're back, and now basically I'm kind of a week behind on this video, but I still want to put it out. Um, New Mexico shooting suspect shows Republicans seek a violent solution to being rejected. Now, going from the big lie to Twitter and to their families, Republicans refuse to peacefully admit that they're very unpopular because they have nothing to offer their inbred voters. So now, news coverage of failed GOP candidate Solomon Pena's arrest for orchestrating a plot to shoot up the homes of various elected Democrats has consistently highlighted one key detail. He claims to be the real winner of the race for New Mexico in the House District 14, and it's so fucking ridiculous that it's hard to not even laugh at this. Ever since Donald Trump spread his big lie about the 2020 election, there's been an assumption that election denialists would at least try to make their claims a little plausible by only crying fraud in relatively close elections, like failed Republican Arizona gubernatorial candidate Carrie Fake, for instance, she continues to proclaim um, um, she continues to proclaim that she's the real winner of an election that she lost last cycle by less than a percentage point. Now Pena, on the other hand, lost his bid for the New Mexico House of Representatives in a deeply blue stated area of Albuquerque to Democrat Miguel Garcia by over 47 points, and he only garnered 26%. He only garnered 26%. He garnered 26% of the vote, but he claims to be the real winner. Well, if you only garner 26%, if you only garner 26% of the vote, then you're a fucking loser. Now, prior to allegedly paying people to drive stolen cars to shoot at the homes of four Democratic officials, Pena was reported for harassing various officials and insisting that he was the real winner of the race that he lost. Now, chilling video from the doorbell camera of former Bernalillo Commissioner Debbie O'Malley, whose home was later the target of an attempted shooting, shows an agitated Pena at her door demanding a conversation about his delusions. Um, the standard take on this is indisputable. Now, this is the natural outcome of Trump's big lie. What we're seeing now are the results of the way that Donald Trump opened the door. Like Lindsay Schubiner, who's a programs director at the Western States Center, told Vox. The conspiracy theories that led to January 6th are ongoing, and so therefore, it's the political violence that they inspire it from. But in another fucking sense, the root cause of such political violence runs deeper than this. Pena's alleged plot is the latest manifestation of a deeper and expanding malady affecting the Republicans nationwide, a refusal to accept that their political views are simply unpopular. When faced with proof that they and their ideas are being rejected rather than reform or at least try to recast their ideas, Republicans often turn to conspiracy theories about sinister forces working against them. In the right-wing imagination, the problem could never be that people have had their ideals and decided they just don't like them. Blame is instead put on woke educators or Hollywood manipulators, brainwashing the masses. The deep state, meanwhile, supposedly steals elections, and the globalists, like Jews, somehow pull off all the strings. Now, this week, Caitlin Tiffany of The Atlantic reported on one of the funnier headaches that Tesla CEO Elon Musk invited into his life by buying Twitter to cater to the right-wingers, the conservative users who insist dark forces are suppressing their God-given right to way more followers. Now, prior to Musk's takeover, the conservatives routinely insisted that the failure to see tweets go viral must be due to shadow banning and mostly imaginary practice of social media companies reducing a tweet's weight in an algorithm to hide a toxic viewpoint. Now, Musk promised that he would stop shadow banning, which easy enough since it's really not a thing. But of course, conservative Twitter users are still claiming their low engagement rates must be due to these alleged shadow bans, and this is what Tiffany rates. Musk recently added view counts to the bottom of the tweets, presumably with the intention of equipping users with data and giving them greater insight into whether others actually are seeing their tweets and not just liking them, but this effort appeared to mostly anger people. The numbers are smaller than expected, which served as more evidence of shadow banning. Um, what else are they going to do? Admit that most people don't like them? They're no more going to admit that they're no more going to admit that than when Trump admits that he lost the 2020 election. But instead, a conspiracy theory is plugged in to explain how unpopular right-wing accounts are actually beloved by the masses. Now, watching Twitter users like Cat Turd whine there actually is a guy on Twitter named Cat Turd who's a Republican, and watching them whine that they'd be getting more retweets, but for the shadow ban is funny. Less so is this article from the New York Post about reactionary parents who are estranged from their children and have chosen to blame woke brainwashing instead of their own bad choices. Now, the Post being a right-wing rag is totally creditless in the face of stories of parents who want to hire deprogrammers to fix their supposedly brainwashed kids. We've had fights with some of with some kids just because I wouldn't get myself a Rainbow Pride Starbucks cup. One woman who unconventionally claims to be Democrat and to be a Democrat told the Post. One child hasn't spoken to her in 4 years and the other in a year, which she chalks up to not anything that she's done, but to the kids being politically correct. Another woman claims that her daughter abandoned her because that they're conservatards and that we should all be against men. If you're skeptical that you're getting the full story from these women, you should be. Their children were not interviewed. The Post says that they reached out to two but got no response, which is likely not a sign of woke brainwashing but frustration with an overbearing mother who sicked a Robert Murdoch-owned organization against them. Both women tacitly admit that their daughters are lesbians while insisting homophobia is not at the center of the fight, leaving one to suspect that the fight over Starbucks Cup was not actually over Starbucks Cup at all. Now, indeed, the article glowingly quotes self-proclaimed deprogrammer Ted Patrick, and he got to get these kids alone. He basically said he snatched people from Yale, but unmentioned in this article is that another word for snatching is kidnapping, or that Patrick and his clients have a long history of legal battles stemming from taking adults against their will to cure them of behaviors like being in a same-sex relationship or joining more liberal churches than their parents liked, and he's done time in prison for this crime. Now, tempting as it is to say, and to write these two off as truly deluded outliers, the truth is the New York Post ran this article because I thought a lot of readers would see sympathetic victims of wokeness where the rest of us see narcissistic bullies. And it goes to show that while Pena took it to a near deadly level, the basic premise he was working under is widespread on the right. Conservatives increasingly feel emboldened to tell themselves that it's impossible that they or their ideals can be honestly rejected, but instead they react to the world the world know like a stalker ex-boyfriend as permission to use coercive tactics. Now people who refuse to take no for an answer have always been a problem, of course. Now, but in the era that we saw of Trump, the toxic behavior is being validated and mainstreamed as the standard Republican practice. Trump's narcissistic behavior is no longer just his individual psychological damage, but the systemic structure of the GOP. It's a soothing myth, of course, to believe that your failures to persuade others are not on you, but the fault of a shadowy conspiracy. The danger is that such a belief ends up as the frightening the programming rhetoric shows, justifying the use of force where persuasion fails. Now, because of this, Pena's crimes cannot be dismissed as outlier violence. He is simply the logical conclusion of the increasingly standard Republican view that conservatism can never fail, but can only be failed. But if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little as $3 a month, your donation can help go a long way. And thanks for listening.